And we're live. Thank you everyone for joining us for the final meeting for the Inheritance Trilogy Readalong. Today we'll be discussing it's up. We'll see, because not everyone finished everything, so it's kind of going to be determined on the fly what we'll be discussing today. But in theory, we'll be discussing the Awakened Kingdom novella and the Shades and Shadow Inheritance Trilogy Triptych. Um, our wonderful co-creator Shay could not be here, but she will be in the comments. Hey Shay, thank you for stopping by. But looking forward to hearing from you. If you're able to tell us what you're thinking. Um, so I did have an intro question today, because I'm like, why am I doing intros? We all know each other. And then I forget that I made up a question I was supposed to be answering. So if you could just like introduce yourself really quick. And the question of the day is, if you could turn one mortal character from the series into a godling, who would you turn and what would their nature be? If you don't want to do anything from the series, you could just pick, I guess, anybody. Like it could be from another series or real life person or something. Um, but I had to pick. I think I would turn. Going through my mental catalog of characters here. So I feel like I didn't really attach to any of the mortal characters, truthfully. Hmm. I think I'm gonna. I think I'm probably gonna pick someone from a different series. If anyone else wants to go, while I pull up my
I
my
thought I
story
was
graph and
going.
jog my memory, I can.
I
That'd be
was in
interesting.
agreement of like not really attaching to any of the mortals, but
Okay.
then I thought of like in the Awakened Kingdom
Yeah.
when Shell is talking to like the two little boys that are someone's servants,
Mhm.
and they're like gossiping
Yeah.
about like what's going on, and she's like taking it as truth, and they're like, "Oh, it's just gossip." I think it'd be cute if they got turned into godlings and like
Oh.
gossiping was their nature, because that could get very messy but like very funny.
Yeah. I wonder if them and Nemmer would get along or no.
Ooh, probably not.
Okay, I'll pick one. I'll say Aster from An Unkindness of Ghosts, just because I love her so much. And I think I would make her nature be um either like discovery, because she likes to like work in her little lab, or truthfulness and sincerity. I think either of those would be her nature.
For me, I would say it's the only mortal I can think of is Hiven. Um, and I guess I don't know. I feel like I'd give her like the godling of riches since she's always looking for money. I don't know.
Hey Sarah, thanks for joining. See her in the comments. She said hi.
Hey Sarah, hey Shay, hey everybody. Um, slight quick intro of Deidre. My channel is Shay Tree Reads, and I can't think of a mortal, even like in the first book. But you say that we could go from another series. You said.
Yeah, I ended up going from another series because I didn't attach
Mm,
to anybody.
I didn't attach to any like. Honestly, I didn't attach to anybody super in this whole series. Just like I related to some of them, but attaching was a different animal. So let me think. Oh, what was her name from the Broken Earth trilogy? That she was kind of like a scout type character.
Was it
She had
Yikanan?
a lab. What's her name?
Oh no. Dang, I forget. Do
You
you
know what I'm
remember
talking about?
Ray? It was the woman that they were working with. The one
Yeah,
who
like they met. Hoa and her met in like a trap house, basically. Not like a trap house, like we think of a current trap house, but like it was a booby house, is what I mean. It wasn't really.
Hmm.
Dang.
Was
Anyway,
she
I
yeah, that's
remember her
it.
name
innocent?
when she was a kid, but I don't remember her name when
Yeah,
they changed it.
Is it
I know
like
who you're talking
Kinky
about.
or something that
something
started with
like
a
that.
T?
Something. I think it started with the T. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm, I'm Inheritance Wiki. Let's see.
Yeah, me with names. Once I finish the
I
series,
know names are
Oh,
it's the
bad.
first
Tonki.
thing
It's
to go.
Tonki.
Tonky, that's
Yes,
her.
yes,
That's
yes.
her. I would definitely. I feel like she had some good characteristics that, and her nature would probably be just like, oh, I don't know. That I was doing good to pick a mortal, so I don't know about the nature, but yeah, I think I would change her.
Nice.
I think Tonki was very always curious, and she was trying to figure things out. Maybe that could be her
Thank you
nature.
for the alley oop. That sounds good, Shanta.
Yep.
So we got some more people in the comments. Hey Bree, hey Pat, thanks for joining. Um, Bree says, "Oh shit, I haven't finished the book, so we head out." Okay, we'll see you later. I was gonna say a lot of people on the panel haven't finished the books, but we're still gonna get into spoilers regardless. I'm sorry to
We're
the people on the panel.
fake co-hosts or whatever. Sorry.
Jay says, "I liked how even when she didn't like Sia, she cared what happened to him." I'm not sure what that was in response to, but it could just be how we're talking about we didn't really attach to characters. Um,
I think she's talking about him and
oh, him. Okay. I think it's pronounced him, like the song. Yeah, you know how you like sing hymns in church? I think that's how it's spelled. I'm gonna look that up before I find out I've been lying on the stream. Yep. Hymn is a religious song or poem of praise to God or a god. So, yep. So in terms of the summary, I didn't prepare one and I should have. Actually, I have a written one for the Awakened Kingdom that I could just read off. Uh, oh wait, I have summaries written for all of them because I made that little study guide. I lied. We're fine. I'm just reading off of that because I read them like a week ago. Unless someone on one of my lovely co-hosts would like to do the summary instead. All I hear is a lot of silence because everyone's on mute, so I assume it's just gonna be me.
I missed the question, my bad.
I was gonna say, now you got it. You you got the summary.
Okay. Oh, Shay corrected me. She said in the audiobook they pronounce the M in the N, so maybe it's just
Oh.
same spelling but different pronunciation.
Mm.
Okay, so I have the summaries pulled up, now I just have to scroll, 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 scroll. It's all the way at the end. Okay, so for the Awakened Kingdom, basically what happens is Yaina and Tempest have a daughter to like reconcile the three, and because they miss C basically, and they want another kid. And daughter's born. She doesn't have a name at first because she's in the gods realm, and she tries to be a trickster like Sia, but she doesn't like playing jokes on people. And so, despite Nahadoth's warnings that the mortal realm is dangerous, decides to go there to find her nature, and she pops up in Dar, and her arrival like accidentally kills a whole lot of people. And then which Ea, who is mentioned in the Awakened Kingdoms, is the haunted godling of negation, like just makes it so it like didn't happen. Um and the other person notices her arrival is a human Aino, who asks her to drop off a scroll to the Darn Council for him as her payment for like all the damage she did when she arrived in the city. Um, the godling and then eventually picks a name, which is Shill, and Ea takes her to Fano, who's a member of these demons called the Enuli, who mentor godlings new to the mortal realm. Fano is Aino's mom, and the scroll Aino asked her to drop off was like a proposal for a law allowing men to inherit property in Dar because he's going to be married off and he doesn't want to do that. And if he could just inherit his mother's property, he would be fine. Um, and so one night she'll like follows Aino to this hidden city where Darn boys are practicing this dance fighting called Anatun, which is in rebellion to the Darn matriarchy. Um, Aino's like the leader of the group, and she'll does this dance with him and realizes that something in her nature is linked to power. Aino's a powerful demon, and that they're like linked somehow. Then the gathering is raided because the matriarchs are angry about the scroll that Ino delivered, and they're trying to like crack down on resistance and stuff. But Shield manages to keep them concealed. Then the next morning, two suitors of Ino's, Mikna and Lumen, propose to him, and Ino's upset that he doesn't have like a say in the matter. Like he likes Lumen better, but even with her, she doesn't seem to think of his feelings. Um, so during that argument, Shield realizes that something there was her antithesis, and she kind of gets closer to finding her nature. Um, Mikna was supposed to be Shield's Enuli, which Shield doesn't want, and she takes Shield to the Proving Grounds to learn about dire culture. I think the Proving Grounds were kind of mentioned in 100,000 Kingdoms. She has her fight Zakarn, and Zakarn like kind of pummels the hell out of her because she's like 8. She's like spitting up teeth and stuff. Zakarn just keeps beating the crap out of her. Until like eventually I think she gets like one punch in, and Zakara was like, if you'd started off with that, maybe things would have gone better for you. But as it is, like you learned a valuable lesson, which is pain sucks. Like you should fight better from the beginning. Um, and then the next day, Ino's detained for sedition. One of the boys snitched on him, and he confesses and tries to kill himself. Shil realizes that like her nature is empowerment, and she turns him into a trickster godling. And accidentally turns a bunch of other mortals into godlings as well. He has to stop her before she like just turns too many people and kills herself. And then so all these new godlings are going to cause unrest, and so Yaina tasks Shil and Ino to mentor them. And it's revealed that again, Jemison was doing something with the perspective where it's told from the first person and talking to an unknown, or I guess second person. And I, I don't know, because Shil always says I, and then she's talking to somebody, and it's revealed that the person she's talking to is one of the new godlings. Um, and she still acts like a kid. So it'll be interesting to see how her teachings go. And then for Shades and Shadow and Inheritance Trilogy Triptych, there were 3 stories. The first one was The Wild Boy, which is set during the early years of a Tempest's enslavement of the Anathata and Sky. Um, there was this boy, Han Gratsajim, who sticks his head into this well that Nahadoth is living in. Nahadoth has not taken physical form really at all this point. He's just kind of like always an amorphous like thing, except during the day when his human form emerges. But Han was sold to the Armari as a slave, and he vows revenge against the Armari. And Nahadoth is just kind of watching this, and he's like mildly interested, but he doesn't really interact with him. Um, like a lot of his children are like begging him to help and like say some things. He hasn't been talking to them either. Like Kurue visits him, and he's still ignoring everybody. And decades pass. Like Han is shows up just periodically to gloat to him about all the Aramari that he's killing. Han is like a relatively attractive guy, and so he's like being used for like sex by the Aramari, and then he'll like use that to like poison them or do stuff like that. Um, he's kind of sadistic about it. And in his old age, Han visits, and like he has never known who Nahadoth was. He just knew there was some god divine presence in the well. He realizes that he's who Nahadoth is, and he offers his body as a sacrifice for him to take further vengeance against the Aramari. And so Nahadoth basically eats him, and after that, he's able to take like physical human form, and he has like renewed like passion to live and to destroy the Aramari. The next story was The God Without a Name, which follows Hatto. So it's like 30 years after his birth when he realizes he's left the Aramari and he's realized that he's a godling. He kind of resents not being able to die, and he does take some of Ora's blood with him when he leaves Sky. And Yaina kind of visits him periodically to check on him, but he's always like very cold and distant to her. She tells him that she was hoping they'd be closer because she's like the one who turned him, and he's the youngest of the. They're both the youngest of the gods. They used to be mortals, but he like panics and rejects her friendship, and then realizes that like something about that moment, like that fear of intimacy, is his antithesis. Um, he starts a string of brothels, which becomes a crime lord, and like um starts what would we'll see in the books is the was the house Arms of the Night. Um, he like partners up with a prostitute who like wasn't gonna just like join like the business that he'd set up unless she had an ownership share. And she eventually leaves to date a client, which hurts Hato's feelings. Um, and he's kind of creeping closer to realizing his nature. And then after Sia's death, Naruto and Yena visit Hato and tell him like Sia might not be dead, but it's all like very not clear what they know and what they don't know. They're like, we can't look at it too closely or we might change things. And then Hato and Yana make up, and Yana extends Glee's life for him. And then the last one is called The Third Why, which is about Glee following her father at Tempest. When she turns 18, she decides to leave her mom's house to find a Tempest for reasons she can't really explain. After 3 years of wandering around, she finds him, and they travel. Like they're not supposed to be together, so they're like together. They're like, oh, look at this, we're near each other, so I guess we'll just happen to get the same room in a hotel or rooms in the same hotel. Like, oh, I'm making all this extra food and you're next to me. I guess I should share it to avoid it spoiling, stuff like that. Um, and to like make amends to atone for basically building up the RMR, Tempest is working these dangerous jobs that he often dies at, hoping his death is gonna like make better working conditions. And Glee is like, this isn't gonna work. Like there's systemic issues that are leading to these poor working conditions. And she kind of talks to him about building a better world, and like his philosophy on stuff like that. And he asks her if she would ever wield like his legendary sword that we see in the Awakened Kingdom, and she says, yeah, to change things. And the Tempest doesn't like change, so they have to stop for a day. He gets like a whole fever and sweats because he hates change so much. And then he kind of like is able to like change his mind, and they head to Sky and Shadow to I guess work on changing the world. Is there anything of interest I missed in any of those summaries? Oh, our little co-host is back. Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, we got our other co-host.
It's a shame
She's so
Shay can't be
cute.
here today to see her, but well, I guess she can watch from
Yeah. Shay's probably waving at her TV. Like, oh my gosh.
home. Shay says, "Hey, friend." Sorry, I can't tell you how cute you are live. Lol.
Amanda, look, say hi.
She says
Look.
she's totally waving.
She's busy.
Oh, she's
She's
busy.
like, I'm watching my shows.
Okay,
Leave me
fair.
alone.
So, did I miss anything in the summaries, or
I don't think
close enough?
so.
Okay.
I was on the
So,
phone, but I think good.
okay. So, most of us read The Awakened Kingdom, right? At least part of it.
Mhm.
So, let's start with those questions then.
Sweet.
Yeah, I got about halfway through it. So.
Okay. Let's work on that with that then. So what did you think of Shill as a narrator?
I loved her. I loved her narration. She cracked me up, and I liked that it was like from a little kid's perspective of
Mhm.
everything and filling in the pieces. And it was interesting to see like how strong, like obviously the godlings are strong, duh, but her having to like watch how loudly she says hello or the way she says hello because it causes destruction. I thought that was really, really interesting. And her just observing the world and getting so attached to mortals was very interesting. And I just really liked her. I thought it was a refreshing perspective.
Yeah, same. It was very refreshing to see the world through her eyes as a literal newborn. and and I think seeing her mature and evolve as the story went on was interesting to see, and how she's now taking this, I guess, big sister role. Now she's not the youngest anymore, so it's interesting to see how she's also talking to the other godling that she's telling the story to. So
Did you have any opinions, Deidre, or not really? Too early to.
Well, at the point that I'm at, she's just starting to like her sentence structure is starting to get a little bit better. She's, like I really am enjoying uh, progressing through her maturation through her speech as she's telling the story and learning. She's just meeting the person in the wide chair that's kind of wide with a really long name.
Was
I
it
can't.
Fano?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. What did you call her,
Yeah.
Fano? And I don't know the rest of your names.
Yeah.
That's what you called her?
Yeah. So I'm just there in the story. So.
Okay. Yeah, Shoal is interesting. I think I was struck by like how even though her and Sia are both like kids, they're so different. I think that's something she has to deal with too. Like there are things that were just specific to Sia's nature that even though he's like the godling of childhood, like aren't necessarily part of hers. What else did I like about her? Yeah, the story structure towards the beginning was very, like, conversational 'cause she's telling the story, and she's like, "Oh, people are always telling me I'm telling stories wrong," like, I think she called them, like, story bullies. Wait, no, she said that someone was like whoever's talking to them said, "Oh, I already know that," and she said, "You're being a story bully right now, I think you should just let me continue telling the story," and I feel like that was, like, a very kid thing to say, call someone a story bully. Um, what else did I like about Chill? I thought it was funny how she calls her dad Papa Tempa. Um, like I guess people called him Tempa, but like Papa Tempa for some reason was just really funny to me. Um,
It
I
was
guess
super
maybe that's
cute.
why. Sorry.
It was super cute, I thought. I know Shamla was probably rolling her eyes, but I thought it was cute.
no, I thought it was cute too. I was like, oh, look at that. Yeah. A Tempest actually being a father. Oh.
Maybe that's why she doesn't like the tricks, is because she's more Tempest's kid. Even though I guess none of them are really like they're all technically all of the three's kids. Um, what else did she do as a narrator? But yeah, it was like interesting to see it from that perspective. I think that's also like the youngest narrator I've read N.K. Jemisin do. Like there was Demaya and the Broken Earth, but like that wasn't told from her perspective. Um, so that was interesting. And her story is basically like, is anyone familiar with My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? Okay, never mind. It's for little kids. But Shill's basically a cutie mark crusader, like her whole thing. The cutie okay, so all the ponies in Ponyville get a cutie mark saying what their like special talent is. And these three little ponies aren't getting their cutie mark on time and they feel real bad. And they find out that their calling is helping other people find out what they're good at. And so they become the cutie mark crusaders. I'm like, this is basically Shill. Summed up. Um, what did you think of Shill's affinity? That her thing was empowerment.
I thought that was super cool. I thought that was such a cool concept, and that she's so young, which I guess doesn't have. I mean, like that doesn't matter, but I don't know. I just really liked it. I remember that scene where she's like, "Oh, my nature is power. Like, figured it out." And
Yeah.
then Naha said, "What did Naha say?" She said, "Not yours" or something. And I was like, what does that mean? She could like touch someone and like wield their power and like it becomes a sword. Like that's what I was thinking.
Mhm.
I wasn't immediately thinking empowerment until like it happened. But I thought it was really creative and just I don't know, really, really cute and interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I was trying to figure it out while reading the novella, and I didn't have a clue what her affinity was until it was revealed. But it makes sense because she does get attached to people. She does get it. Wait, hold on. She does get attached to people like like she got attached to Aino really fast, and she didn't like what was happening with him, that he didn't have a choice in whatever was happening to him. So it makes sense that that would be her power.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when the gods were talking about like, oh, like people born after like humans came around, their natures are more like straightforward. And I was like, I don't know if that was necessarily straightforward. Like I was like, I think I was so stuck on the idea that she was supposed to be another Sia that I thought it was gonna be something related to childhood. So I just like really was not sure what it was. I was like, is she like a goddess of like dance or something? Like or like play? Like I really didn't guess it at all.
But it's really crazy that, or yeah, it's pretty crazy that she can make mortals into godlings. So that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it would be I guess we're not getting any more stories, but like Yan had mentioned that like not all the godlings are happy that they're like mortals that can become human and like now there's gonna be a lot more of them. That could cause some tension.
Yeah, especially if they know that there's someone who can make them a godling. That's
Mm.
murky waters.
What did you think about Chill's relationship with Ano? Sorry, I keep changing up his name. I think I've said like Ino at one point. I didn't have the audiobooks. I don't know how you pronounce it. But like she seems to really like him, but it's like I don't know if who was it who was warning her about being parasitic with him? Was it like Fano or was it Ia? There are people who are like, you're drawn to him because of your affinity, but like
I
you
think
need
it
to be
was.
careful.
I think it was Ia.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think Ia was basically playing the big brother role to her the entire story. So I think it's probably him who said that.
I felt like their relationship was very much like first crush, but like once you grow up, you're gonna be like, really? No one mentioned that I had a thing for him. Like it was giving that energy to me the whole time. I was like, please listen to your siblings just like a little bit because she attached onto him so fast.
Oh, there's a comment from Shay. This is about Chill's affinity. The way it wasn't an immediate fear that she would be killed because that ability astounds me. Yeah, like when
Mm.
they said that, like, oh, there's gods who don't like it, I was like, I feel like godlings kill each other frequently enough.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess she's a Tempest's daughter, so she has some protection because she is like, he was just welcomed back into the fold, and if people want to preserve the family balance, but like, I don't know.
Yeah. Not kill his first child back.
Yeah.
And
How are y'all
especially to
pronouncing the guy that is spelled IA? How are y'all pronouncing that?
I was
Yeah.
saying Ia. How's the
Okay.
audiobook saying it?
I don't know. I don't have it. I was just wondering. I
Okay.
only have the ebook, so
Okay.
I've been skipping over it because I was like, how do you say it?
Sorry, was someone saying something and they got cut off?
I was, now I don't remember what I was saying.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No,
That's
it's
fine.
okay.
Oh, why do you think it was cringy, Emma Ray? Is it because he's like avoiding her? Like he doesn't really like her that much. He's just like, you're
Yeah.
around, so I'm talking to you, and you're sympathetic to my cause.
Yeah. And she was like so obviously like really little.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just like it honestly reminded me of like one of my friends, her littlest sister having a crush on like one of our guy friends and him being like, oh, like, hi. And it's like really weird, but she gets like all excited when he's around and
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, that's kind of funny. So it just kind of like reminded me of like a first crush, like, oh my gosh, he's the greatest in the world and I'll do anything for him without knowing who he is. Like I don't know. It was just giving that energy like right off the bat. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. She's young.
Yeah. Uh, what did you think of
I
the
think I
ending?
remember what I was gonna say. Okay.
Wait, our littlest co-host has something to say.
The second one. The second one. I was gonna say that I don't think anyone's gonna mess with Jill because basically I think they made her because Sia's gone now, so they they want a baby. So and all three of them love her a lot, so I don't think anyone's gonna mess with her.
So what did you think of like the ending of the story where we had the big dramatic court scene and then like we find out Chill's ability? Um, did you like guess it? Did you like the tension? Hey Adrian. You just popped up in the comments. What did you think of it?
I definitely didn't guess it. Um, I was very shocked because I think still at this time I didn't fully understand what she was. Like I was still trying to figure out what her nature was. I liked being able to see more of how like Dar operates and how they're like, oh, men are so fragile. They can't have rights. Like that that was just very interesting. And like Eno's, or however you say his name, his bravery to like stand up against them in front of everyone. I don't know. I thought it was a good ending because I was thinking like, how is this gonna end? Like this isn't a full length novel. This is a novella. How is this one supposed to end? And I don't know. It was very nice. I liked it. It's not very insightful, but I liked it.
I don't know. I sorry, go on someone. So I think someone in the Discord guessed the ending for this one was someone who's been consistently guessing endings, if I remember correctly. um, all I knew was that when Ada was I keep changing his freaking name. I should just stick to one. I know. I'm gonna say I know. I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna be consistent about it. So when I know was like saying something about like what do you do when like your life isn't your own? I was like, oh God, like she'll keep an eye on it. So that part I guess, but that was about it. Um, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Sean, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine. I was gonna say that's as dramatic as N.K. Jemisin will with her endings, but it was. I think I didn't guess that Aino was gonna turn into the new trickster god, but you can see throughout the novella that she was hinting at it, that
Yeah.
there's the hole left by Sia, and
Yeah.
then the comparison, like the little comparisons with Sia's like facial like trickster elements with Ano. It's dropped in there, so it makes sense that he would become the new one.
Yeah. What do people think of like the big fight? I guess when Lumen and Mikna show up and um are like both proposing to Ino and Shill's kind of not having it.
I think it speaks to Shill's attachment to him, and she's gotten to know him and how he doesn't want any of this. He doesn't want to get married. He wants to be himself. He wants to be free. So she's basically sticking up for him and saying no, he doesn't want any of this. You guys can't do this to him. And she's also a child, so children, like, they don't have a filter, so they'll say what's on their mind. So yeah, I don't expect any less from her.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What we thought of the fight where I guess the argument where Mikna and Lumen show up.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that was very interesting. That when they're like fighting over her, and she's like, "They don't even see that I'm here."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Yeah, babe, you're a god. You're not gonna see you." I don't know if I had any thoughts on it other than it explaining more of the story
Mhm.
and liking it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I thought the argument was interesting. Just, I guess, how Shill's so young, but she's still so insightful, like realizing that like none of this is really about what people say it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like she only like just met humans. She's always like, there's a subtext here. 'Cause I imagine the gods are more direct when they're talking about stuff. So that was really a thought about it. Um, One of the quotes I wrote down was from Yena saying, "Power cannot be given, people can only take it, and then only what is already theirs by right. Only what they can claim and hold with their hands." And I was wondering what you thought of that quote and how that's like consistent or inconsistent with the stances she's taken, um, like since the 100,000 Kingdoms, whether that's dealing with the Aramari or how gods and godlings are going to interact with the mortal world. I was wondering what you thought of that quote.
Um, I thought it was a very powerful quote, and yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. I think it's interesting the part that said that the only the power that they can like hold, they can take. In looking at the Aramari, who were just taking anything and everything that they wanted, including gods. That's a very interesting standpoint. I think the quote within it kind of has her change and growth as a god, because now it would have been like a lot of time passing. So maybe her own opinions of power have changed, especially now having a child that's their nature. But I don't know. The quote confuses me and makes sense all at the same time coming from Yaney. And I don't know why. This is how my brain is processing it. Oh, hey! Little forehead. What?
She's like, oh hey, there's people.
Hi.
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 She's about to give us her thoughts. What I thought about the quote.
So for me, I felt like it was pretty consistent with like her just kind of leaving the Aramari as is, like being like, you're just gonna have to make it for yourselves now. Like whatever you can do is what is gonna happen. Like we're just not getting involved anymore. Adrian says, she's adorable. Um, and what else? I thought it was also kind of like there's something like practical about it too. Like you can't give well, I guess you can give people power that they don't have like the ability to maintain, like but also like it's not worth it, I guess, in the long term, and that like if you can't maintain the power, you're gonna lose it eventually. Like it's not gonna stay. There's gonna be like chaos in the aftermath. Um Shay says hi, mini co-host. um but also it felt kind of like pessimistic to me in some way. It felt kind of might makes right in some ways. Um I guess because we were talking about like, oh, like the Armari did have the power to do things, and so what happened to the world as a result. Um, so I felt like it was like pretty consistent with her deciding to like leave the Armari as is and to kind of just like take the gods out of the equation and just like not get involved with stuff, like no divine interventions. But it also felt kind of pessimistic to me in some ways. I think it like made sense for Shill and that like she would be empowering everyone and then she would basically spin herself out and die. And so she can't really be doing that. Like she does have to limit who she can give this ability to. Um but yeah, I felt conflicted about it, I think. Deidre, do you have any opinions on it?
No, I really like the quote. I haven't gotten to it yet, obviously,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like, I haven't seen much of Yena or Yeah, you ain't know yet. At the part where I'm at in the story. So I think it's powerful, and I'd like to see um how she sort of changes as
Mhm.
well with the result of this is her first kid, right? Yeah, this is her first kid,
I
like you
guess
were saying.
excluding Hatto.
Oh, right.
So I guess Hatto's kind of adopted. Eh, I don't know if
Yeah,
that's really.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'd like to see how, because they say that kids change you for usually for the better, whatever. But like,
Mhm.
so we'd like to see,
Yeah, I guess this is the first kid she's had, like as like an actual kid. Like
like, period,
Hatto,
like as a
yeah,
human, I mean, a mortal, and
yeah.
as one of the three.
Hatto's kind of like she got him as an adult. Um, Pat says Emma Ray's bringing in spring sunshine, hair wrap, glasses, and scarf. Very nice. Um, what was I gonna say? I'm trying to remember. I was gonna say, I mean, you say having kids changes people for the better, and then there's Anifa.
And then there's that exception. That's why I say usually, you know. But I wasn't thinking of her. But you're right. Like, she made some bad decisions, and I do feel like not everybody should have kids. Like, honestly, that's a thing too. So
So who had read it? Who had read the Shades and Shadow Triptych? Um, just me and Shomla. Okay. Oh, Shay says it makes sense that the mortal who became God would give her child that ability. Yeah, I feel like Iana kind of said as much. Like once there's like a little path that's made in the universe, like a possibility, it just becomes a highway. I guess it just happens more often, more frequently.
but do they give? I thought the maelstrom gives them their affinity, or is it the soul? Am I getting that
I think
confused?
it's the soul. Like I thought the maelstrom had like spat out Nahada, Enifa, and a Tempest, and then after that, they just kind of try not to get too close to it.
Gotcha.
Um, like I don't know if it's still like active and doing stuff now. Oh, and Adrian says she read Shadow, Shades and Shadow too, and she downloaded the audiobook. Okay, so I'll go through the questions then. Um, so what was your favorite story of the triptych? And if you could swap out one story of the triptych for like another premise completely made up of your choosing, what would you swap?
Mine. So there's one with Hado, one with Nahadot, and one with Glee. So
Yeah.
I really like all of them, but the one that was my favorite when Nahadot's one, because I don't think we ever get his perspective in the three books.
No,
So it was
I don't think I've
interesting
read
to
that
see
either.
what. Okay. Hello.
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 Hello. Okay. 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 And yeah, so it's interesting to see where his mindset was after the gods were in.
Yeah, I was not.
And then
I didn't know what you were gonna think about that Naruto story. I wasn't sure how you were gonna feel about it. Um, I thought it was interesting to like, I guess, see that side of him because by the time we see him, he's kind of like vengeful. And to see that there had been a point where he just like wasn't doing anything. I guess the story of how he was able to take physical form was interesting. Um, I don't know if I'd want it. So
I
for
think it
me,
was interesting that it took a mortal to. Oh, sorry.
I didn't mean to cut you off. You can
Can you
go.
hear me?
Yep.
Oh no, it's okay. I was saying, I think it was interesting that, yeah, he was wallowing in the little puddle wall that he was in, and then it took like a mortal and his type of vengeance, to get him to, like, actually, you know, get out of himself and actually think about what to do about what the situation they're all in.
Yeah. It was a little frustrating that for me that was told from Nahado's perspective because it's like Han's just doing all this like wild stuff and we only hear about it in snippets and like Nahado's not really interested in it, so he doesn't ask questions. So he'd be like, "Oh, I see that Han's like dangling someone by their neck over the edge of sky, and like I guess he's gonna let go." Uh. I was like, "Dang, it's so juicy. I want more I want more details. Like, how did he do it for all these years and never get caught?" He's like, "Yeah, I killed like 12 people. They're not really asking any questions about it." I'm like, "No, no one." And now it's just like, mortals being mortals. He's one of mine.
I wonder who his grandson ended up being.
Oh,
Who was
right.
someone
Han did
important? Is
mention he
it?
has a yeah. Han mentioned that he has a grandson, but like he's also like, I want to live forever, like the grandson isn't like wasn't someone he could raise, or was gonna be in contact with. He's like, I want to live forever and I want to take I don't know if he's gonna take vengeance on the Aramari like I want, so like that's kind of why he let Nahadus eat him. Um, yeah, I don't know. They don't yeah, I don't know if we get enough information to guess who the grandson would be. Um, so like I liked that story. I don't I don't know if I got sick of hearing about Haddo or not. Like, I was like, I feel like Jemison just likes writing about Haddo for whatever reason, because like he had that small role in the first book, and then we see him in like every book, and then he got the short story, and I was just like, enough about Haddo. Like, he's okay. He's just not my favorite. So I think I don't know. Like, I felt like it was nice seeing Lee and a Tempest together because that wasn't something we really got to see. That was something that was hinted at. So I think if I could switch out any of the stories, I would switch out Haddo's short story. Funnily enough, it would still have Haddo in it. It would just be talking about something different. Because I'm tired about hearing him being the beloved. Um, I think it would be kind of like a alternate universe thing, maybe, where it's like Madding is still around, and Madding has is a what do you call it? His apothecary or whatever at the same time as Haddo. I just think they'd have interesting conversations because they're both like say very flowery things about what it is they do, and it's like you run a brothel. He's like it's a place for artisans of the flesh. I'm like this is a lot. Madding's like his little. They're like, you sell drugs. He's like, I am an independent apothecary and dispensary. I think they just have interesting conversations about like what their business is and how they run it. So I feel like that would be kind of a fun short story.
Yeah,
Definitely agree with that.
yeah, same. I would agree. Switch Hado's story with the story about Madding or Lil. Lil would have been fun.
I would
That
have
would have been a
loved to
switch
see
up.
more about Lil. I was so sad that Lil did not show up again. Um, I don't know
I can't
why I
get
liked
enough
her so
of
much.
Lil. I can't get enough of her. It's because we keep getting little sprinkles. It's like Salt Bay Lil, and I don't know. I'm kind of upset about it, honestly.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see her, like, at least when she's, like, the patron goddess of, like, what was it, like well, she was a patron goddess of orphans, right? For a little bit? Like, she said there's
Yeah,
something
in
about
that
how
dump
they're
or
hungry.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to
Mhm.
see, like, how she changed, like, in the aftermath or, like, maybe what she was doing towards I don't know if she would have been interesting during the Gods War, 'cause I feel like she's kind of would have stayed out of it because there's nothing in it for her. Um, but I feel like she has to have been doing something of interest. Like, Lil bites off
Unless she
more than
ate
she can
her
chew.
sibling.
I feel like she said she tried. Um, I don't know, I'm just imagining, like, was it, like, a Very Hungry Caterpillar book, but, like, it's Lil?
Well, I would watch it. I would read it for sure.
Um, who else would I like a short story about? I feel like it's really just Lil and, like, Madding. Um, Gone Too Soon. Uh, who Who else was there? I was kind of interested in like that plant god who popped up in the Awakened Kingdom, but that's just because I like plants. Um, and like because he doesn't look like a person. Like it'd be interesting to see maybe some of the gods who like can't come into the mortal realm, um, or who like don't look like humans when they do, just to, like change it up. Because then that guy like he just like rustled like a plant and stuff. Like he didn't really like talk or anything. Like Shill had a hard time understanding him, so that could be
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. He was really cool to read about. Because, yeah, he was like crying when she disrupted all of his plants. But then she mentioned that it was like, it wasn't like verbal. She just like knew that that's what he was talking about. That'd be so
Yeah,
cool to read. But yeah, I want to see more of the gods that like do not look human and just look super weird, but are walking around the humans. Like that's that'd be super dope.
that'd be interesting. Or wait, I remember when? Sorry, I could see DJ's about to talk.
No, I was gonna say that dream guy. It would be kind of cool
Yes,
to
Asana.
like go with oh, what was it? What was it?
I thought it was
Something.
Nisana.
Oh, that's
Uh,
right. I could never say his name. But him, like maybe how he discovered his nature and like how he dealt with that, and like cuz I would think that would be pretty dark, but also dreams can be like how do you get a balance with the dark side of dreams and the happy whimsical side? Like there has to be something that he needs to do to not go completely one way or the other all the time. So that would be cool to read about.
yeah, that'd be interesting. Or to see like him and Sia's falling out. Um, that could have
Yeah,
been
that would have been
interesting.
cool. Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone else. That might be everybody. I feel like I see enough of Yena. Um, yeah, I think that might be everybody I'm interested in. Uh, what other questions did I have? Oh, I was just thinking about Shill's little story where she's like, and then there's that planet where there are people. It's a big gas planet. And there's people orbiting the gas planet in refrigerators, but I'm not going to tell you about it because you're being mean. I was just like, wait, no, tell us more about the planet. At first, I thought like maybe it was like a Broken Earth tie-in, like it was about like the Stone Eater who was in the gem. But then she said it was like a gas planet. I was like, oh, that's probably not it. It can't be. Unless maybe it's sometime in the future. I don't know, but it didn't seem to match up. It would have been cool if there had been a tie-in though. Um, what was my other
I love
question?
when she described black holes as cute little nahas. I love that part. I highlighted it. It was just I loved it.
Yeah, that also could be fun talking about Sia's time in the universe because I do really like when like the stars are characters and stuff, and so he said the plants really liked him and the stars really liked him. It could have been fun hearing about him just like dicking around in the sky.
Yeah.
You said they were bitey. The black holes were bitey. That was funny to me.
That was very cute. What else? I was like, when I was reading the short stories, something that really interested in how people see like change. Because I think Yena's, because I guess because I'm introduced to Jemison through the Broken Earth trilogy, and that's like a very like disruptive, violent, like loud, type of change. And then I read this series, and Yena's view of change is like more like very different. Like I guess it looks like that on the ground with like who's it, the Dar in the third book. But like Yaina's is kind of like hands off, I guess, because she has so much more power, I guess, than the other protagonists. She's like, I'm just gonna stay out of it. Um, and then in the third story in the triptych was about Glee and Glee's idea for change. And I was curious what people thought of how she sees change, um, how that like could coexist with someone who is a daughter of a tempest, and like what that looks like, I guess, in other like visions for change we've seen throughout the series.
So I didn't read the triptych, but it definitely did seem like Yaney was very hands off. Y'all figure it out. I'll watch and like swoop in if things get too bad, or like
Yeah.
if I need to be here, maybe like implement a little idea here and there, and then peace out again. And just from like the last book, The Kingdom of Gods, it seemed like Glee was much more hands on and
Yeah.
wanting to figure things out and like wanting a very specific, this is what we're going to do type of plan. So it's very interesting to see the difference between the two of them. And maybe she was much more motivated because she's a demon, not a god. So like eventually she will die. So like you gotta you gotta plan a whole lot more and be a whole lot more hands on. So like I'll check in 1,000 years. Good luck.
Yeah, it reminded me of a parent in a really annoying way. You remember when you're having like an argument with a sibling and like you knew that you were being wrong, and you'd be like, "Mom, Dad, siblings doing X, Y, Z," and they're like, "Figure it out yourselves." Like, it's like I know I'm right though. I just need you to tell them that I'm right, and they're just like, "I'm not having it. I'm not resolving every little dispute you two have." I don't. I thought Glee's idea of change reminded me a lot more of like Essen in the Broken Earth trilogy, where it seemed like more pointed and more. No, actually, not even really. It just, I guess, in that it was like hands on, like she wanted to be doing stuff, but also I think her. I was gonna say like I can't talk about the Broken Earth without spoilers. But I think it also looks different in that I think Lee's looking at things like big picture too. Like she's on that council um of godlings to try and influence stuff. Um yeah, I don't know why it made me chuckle a little bit that Tempest is like taking all these bad gigs and like dying on the gig. Like I don't know, to me, I know it's not on purpose, but to me it seems so dramatic. Like I don't know. I was just like imagining him like being like at those like walking to McDonald's or something with like slippery when wet and him being like, ah, help. I need $1,000, $100,000. Even though I know it's like not what he was doing, but that's what it made me think of.
I think isn't it like a tempest that started? He tried changing each town for the
Yeah,
better as a part of his atonement, and I guess Glee saw that and said, "Oh no, it's a bigger problem. It's a
yeah. She
worldwide
was like, "That's
like
inefficient."
systemic problem that needs to change the top." Yeah,
Yeah. That. Oh, right. That is a good point. Um. Yeah, I
yeah.
hadn't
So
thought
I
about it
think
like
that's
that.
why her conviction was even more that she wants to change it. Like the gods can't change it because they don't. Because if they do, then there's gonna be chaos. But she as because demons are mortal too. They don't live
Hmm.
forever. So I guess she wanted to change it in a way that she could.
Yeah, I think Glee is kind of like, yeah, because I guess with the origins in the Broken Earth, they are like very powerful, but they're also still mortal. Um, I don't know. So like I don't even know what I was gonna say. But like something about like not needing to hold back because they are still mortal and they are still gonna be like living with the world and dependent on the aftermath. Um, yeah. So last question was, why do you think this was like the Jemison series that we got so much bonus content for? Like I don't think there's really anything similar for the Broken Earth trilogy. There might be some, or the Dreamblood duology. There might be something for the Great Cities trilogy because it's not done yet. But I was wondering why you thought like this was the series that got so much of the bonus content. And if you could get spin-off novellas or like a spin-off short story collection about her other work, what would you pick and what would it be about?
Ooh, I'll go. So I definitely uh I don't remember, but I feel like I wanted more from about Hoa. even still after the third book. I wanted more about Hoa. I wanted more about, oh, I already forgot her name again.
Oh,
Tonki.
Tonki, yeah, Tonki.
Yeah, and the leader of that underground community. I forgot the name.
Was it Yika? Was she the leader? Or was she like the
The one that was also like a untrained origin.
yeah, I can't remember if it was Yika who was in charge or if she was like the assistant. But I know who you're
Yeah,
talking about.
I would like to know like how she survived to get to that place. Like a little bit more backstory. Like I think we got like a little sprinkle of the story, but I would like a full novella or short story about it.
Yes, ditto. I want more of the Broken Earth trilogy if she can give it to us. Prequels, sequels, whatever it is, I'll read it. As for why this series got more, I guess, more content, I think this series was really based upon the world and the world building instead of like individual characters. So I think there's so many characters that to write about, so many things about the world to write about. So I think maybe she had more to talk about, and then that couldn't be confined to the three main books. So I mean, I'm glad she wrote them. I read them, I enjoyed them. So yeah.
For me, there's something I don't know that reminded me because I was also reading fan fiction for the series, but like something that reminded me about like fanfic with some of them, like it was just like kind of like indulgent like backstory stuff, which was like a lot of fun. And I feel like also because like the multiverse, it just felt more natural. Like the idea that like anyone could become like a main character in some other series. I felt like it really meshed with like I guess the ethos or whatever of the series. Um, and also that, like, people just, like, come back, like, I felt like The Broken Earth was kinda like we had, like, the same cast pretty consistently. With other series, it's pretty consistent with the same cast so far, and this has been one where it's more like, people will pop back in and out. Everyone kinda has a backstory that's, like, hinted at, so I felt like it, like, fit in that way. I was also wondering, like, because I know she had a Patreon, and that, like, she'd used the Patreon to go full time as an author. I think Shay had shared that. And I'm wondering if, like, maybe these were, like, shorts she released for her Patreon and then eventually decided to, like, publish, like, to the public. Because this was, like I thought 100,000 Kingdom no. I was gonna say I thought 100,000 Kingdoms was her first series that was published, but I think it was actually Dream let me check the dates.
No, I think this was her debut series.
Okay.
Pretty
So
sure.
this was her first one. So I was wondering if it
Maybe
was
not
also,
the
like,
first
a
one she wrote
yeah,
herself,
I
but
think
I
she'd
think so.
written yeah, you're right. So I think Dreamblood Duology had been written first, and then she said in an interview that she had to shelve it because she couldn't sell it, and then this was the first one that was published. So I kinda wonder also, like, if that had anything to do with it, like, she just had I don't know, wherever she was in her publishing process or career, that she just had more time for stuff like that, I don't know. Adrian says, I think it's the world building in the Inheritance Trilogy that was more fascinating to me, probably because of the political climate of the series. I enjoyed both series though. And Shay said, yeah, she wrote the duology first, but this was published first. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Adrian. I think the world building in this series is very good. Like it's very interesting. It's a character in itself.
Yeah,
While
for
in the
sure.
Broken Earth, the world building was good too. Not saying that it wasn't, but it was the characters that really I stuck to. Whereas here it's
Hmm.
the worlds and the characters.
Yeah, I think the world in the Broken Earth was like less intricate. Like there are the regions and stuff, but I feel like we don't know much about them other than like what the people
Yeah.
in those regions look like. It's mostly to like identify people's appearances. Like
Mm-hmm.
whereas here, like I feel like we really got to know about Dar, because we've just visited so many times throughout the years in these
Mm-hmm.
books. Or like we got to really learn about what was it Shadow Sky Under Shadow, Shadow and Sky. like that, like what that area looked like. So you just spend so much time there. Whereas I guess they're on the road so much in Broken Earth, like they're not the bigger characters. The origins aren't really raised anywhere outside the fulcrum, so they don't have experience of a whole lot and they aren't attached to much. So it makes sense. But yeah. Had you answered this yet, Emma Ray?
No, sorry. Our maintenance worker came, and
Okay.
so I did
That's
not
fine.
hear anything. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no, you're good, you're good. I had asked, why do you think this was the only Jemison series that got so much bonus content? If you could get a spin-off novella or short story collection about her other work, what would you pick?
Ooh, okay. So I haven't finished The Broken Earth. I've only read the first book. Um, but I think with the Inheritance trilogy, since there are so many godlings and you can like play around and imagine so many different ones' natures and everything and how they relate to each other and like the mortal world and other worlds and all these different things. There's so much going on. I think it's probably really fun to sit and write like the novellas and the short stories and like whatever other add-ons. But then again, I haven't finished the other trilogy, so I have no idea. It could be just as intricate, and I just only know those few characters from my memory. But I don't know. I guess I would want more of the gods not on Earth and not around mortals, and just seeing how they live with each other. Um, but yeah, it just kind of seems fun, and it seems like she has fun writing about this world or worlds specifically, and maybe that's why she keeps writing about it. Mm.
I think if I had to pick a spin-off, I keep saying I wouldn't. There is fanfic about Essen, Alabaster, and Enon on Meow, but like I would be curious what Jemison's vision is for their time on Meow. Um, I it would be interesting to know more about like Hoa in his youth. Um, I would also be interested in Yika's youth as well. Like I am curious like what her community lived like where she was able to like be an open origin and like it was fine, no one said anything about it. Um I might be interested in something from Father Earth's perspective for the Broken Earth series, like maybe like a short story triptych like this, like through different ages. Um I think that's everything for Broken Earth. If I Oh, and also about Alabaster and that one guy he liked. I forget his name. Um and like how he lost his what you might call it, his guardian. So basically like maybe like a novella about Alabaster's life, like before we meet him in this story. In terms of the Dreamblood duology, I'm just like really curious about the sisters. There's like I forget how many divisions there are of like the religious order in that world, but there's the sisters, there's the sharers, and there's the gatherers. I thought, and we've always follow a gatherer um main character. I think of both. No, wait. First book we follow a gatherer. Second book we follow a sharer, and we never see the sisters. And I was really intrigued by them, because they're kind of like Nasana that they do dream stuff, and they basically get magic from people's basically like sexual dreams that people have. So I'd be interested to follow like a novella, from one of those characters' perspectives. And with the grid cities, it's so early. I don't really have an opinion on what I would want more of. Like right now, I'm really interested in the world outside of ours that the was it the Lady in White is from, but I'm sure we're gonna see more of her just based on the ending to the first book. Littlest co-host. Shay says, I think it's because of the way publishing was when this came out. Authors can't really do spin offs now because the story world and characters belong to the publisher, so there's no guarantee they will buy it. That's a shame. It would have been nice to keep getting spin offs of stuff. So those were all the questions I had for today. Was there anything else anyone wanted to talk about or Any announcements people have to share before we sign off?
Sorry, I think I have to go again. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Mommy, I was gonna ask, how do people feel about this series? Like, how do they rank it, or how do? For me, I really enjoyed this series, as I do other. Hold on.
Okay.
Huh?
I'll go while she's talking. I can't, like, I've heard Shay say a few times. I can't really say on any given day which one I like better. you know, it just depends, because if you're talking about the world, I think the Inheritance trilogy is much more interesting as far as the world itself and the magic system, I guess. But then if you're talking about characters, I really lean more towards the Broken Kingdom, and also I forget, the Free Cities, is that what it's called?
What I think it was the Great Cities
The
trilogy.
Great Cities, yeah. So I really think the characters in those two are more interesting. I mean, not interesting. I can relate to them a little bit more and attach to them a little bit more. Um, so it just depends on the day and what you're talking about for me.
I think the Broken Earth trilogy was my favorite because I read it first, and I think it's just gonna stay that way. Like, it is kind of like my go-to. I guess in terms of a series, it just feels like very complete and final when you put it down, and this one feels so open. It's interesting. I think that the Great Cities trilogy might go a similar way and feel to this series because there is like the big cast of characters. There is kind of like the multiverse thing going on. Um, and it is something that's a very, very rooted in a place, kind of similar to this book. Like New York City is very central to the story, and like location and geography is going to be very important going forward. So I could see it feeling similar to this trilogy. So I think that The Broken Earth is going to be my favorite. Oh, Deidre, Shay says, you and her have a live discussion on Wednesday. What's the discussion about?
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. So we're talking about the other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah. Oh, I forgot her last name. But we're gonna be talking about that, and there will be spoilers on Wednesday at 7 Central Time on my channel.
Shay says she
It's
doesn't
gonna
have.
be a good discussion. I know you guys have feelings about that book. Sorry.
The other Black Girls, that's the one that I keep seeing being shredded on. Oh, it's not like getting shredded on YouTube, but like I feel like everyone I know who's read it has been like, eh.
There is so much to talk about with that book. So I am like, I finished it about a week ago, and I'm gonna reread it just for our discussion. And I'm just, it's just a lot to talk about.
Okay, yeah, we'll tune in Wednesday for more. Shay says she doesn't know how to rank them either. They're so different and so good. Emma, you had wait, it was Emma and Shumla who hadn't answered yet, right? Wait, no, Shumla had asked the question, so she answered it. Sorry.
Are we doing announcements, that part?
Announcements and also like what you thought about this series relative to other things you'd read by Jemison or just on its own.
Gotcha. Okay. I'll start with what I thought of the series. So I've only read part of the first Dream Blood duology book. And then I've only read the fifth season and now this. Oh, wait, and I read The City We Became, and I love this so much. I had a hard time reading The City We Became because how slow it was. And then it was like once it got to that last scene, then I went back and appreciated the slowness of it because it was introducing such a big cast of characters. And I'm appreciating it even more now having read the Inheritance trilogy. So I'm excited that like to read the books that come with that. But I loved the Inheritance trilogy so much, and I'm definitely much more motivated to finish the Broken Earth. I just need to get the books to to read them, and I need to finish the duology as well, because I just don't know why I haven't finished it. I'm just a mess over here, I guess. In terms of announcements, Erica and I are doing the traveling annotation project again, and I have an announcement video for that on my channel, if you're interested. And yeah, the audio. One of my friends was sending me clips of it, and I was like, "Geez, I need to get the audio." So I'll probably do the audio for the reread. That I'll end up doing at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think Nora also like swears by the audiobook for that one. Shay says I need to finish the duology as well. T says I only read one book of this set. I couldn't get into the series the same way as the Broken Earth. First of all, hi T, nice to see you again. T was like a Broken Earth trilogy regular, and she said she was only able to be for the first book of this one. I could see that. I feel like with the Broken Earth, there's like very fast paced. Each book builds on each other, and like I feel like all the world building stuff is confusing at first, but it like pays off and like grows. For this one, I felt like we were kind of learning new things each book. I don't know if it's just because the world felt so much bigger or what, but like we're kind of skipping around in time. Um, yeah, I think it's like for me, the Broken Earth trilogy was good because there's like it felt like there's so much payoff at the end. Like so much got wrapped up and explained and it felt like very complete. And this one just feels it feels very different. Like it's very open and sprawling and like I don't know if there's any one book I read that gave me like that same like really satisfying sense of closure that I got from the Broken Earth series. Shay says this was way easier to get into for me than the Broken Earth. I think the magic system for this one is a little bit more I think it's more similar to other fantasy magic systems. Also we don't see too much of it. Like it's kind of in the background. It's like less rulesy. Whereas I think the Broken Earth one is like more involved and also like the people it's more present because the characters actually use it. Oh wow. Shay says almost DNF the Broken Earth the first time I tried to read it. This seemed easy to understand and get into it. Interesting.
I definitely agree with that. The fifth season is pretty dense, so it's kind of like you have to keep through it in order to get the payoff that you want. But this one, like the 100,000 Kingdoms, much easier to understand and follow and things like that. So I agree with that.
Hello. Got here just in time for us to I guess we're signing off now unless people have any we all did our announcements. No one has any final questions or things to discuss?
Nope.
I'm just gonna say. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that. Not that there was any question, but the series definitely cemented N.K. Jemisin as like one of my top like authors. I just love her writing. It just cemented it even more. It's like, ugh, the way she writes is so good.
Yeah, the series was fun to read. I feel like I got more out of it on reread for sure, and definitely like with a group. Um, and also like now that I've read like all of the novellas and the spin-offs, like some of the fanfic I'm reading is starting to make sense. Like I realized it wasn't just made up for the fic; it was like from the stories. So that was just good to know. Shay said, "Never read sci-fi or fantasy, and the fifth season is a lot in the beginning. We're not used to that." Agree with Shomla. Um, So I don't have any announcements or anything really coming up. Like it's just gonna be whatever, like regular videos coming up. Um, might have an interview next week at 1 p.m. Uh, Eastern time if you're interested in that. That'll be live on my channel. And I know last time, I think after the Broken Arts trilogy, there were people who left the Discord, and then that caused some confusion because they were confused why they had to like redo the little intro thing saying you read the rules and all that. Basically, if you leave the Discord and come back, it's basically like you were never in it. And so, even though we're not doing the Inheritance Trilogy read along anymore, um, I am going to be reusing the Discord for like more read-alongs in the future, so I would recommend just like staying in there. Definitely doing the Dreamblood duology at some point, Shomla. Maybe not this year, but definitely at some point. Oh, next year at the latest. Adrian says I want to read more series with you all. This was fun. For sure, we'll be reading more series. And yeah, that's really it. I don't have like announcements about concrete stuff for that because I just have to reschedule stuff because of things in my personal life. But yeah, I would recommend staying on the Discord if you want to read more stuff by N.K. Jemisin or, you know, yeah, or like other works of science fiction and fantasy by Black authors. So yeah, that's it from me. Take care, everybody. Have a good weekend, and goodbye.
Bye.